Hello everybody, this is the HBJ TV on a brisk 40-degree day. Today I came with my secret weapon, a pair of gloves, a pair of spider gear gloves, nice and warm, so when my hands start getting a little chilly we don't have to cut the bitching and moaning and ranting short. We just add gloves, keep this party going. Another day at Lake Shamanwood. We got people fishing, people in the boat fishing. I guess people don't give up when it's 40 degrees. Chicago says, fuck it, let's keep this fucking fishing party going. Let's say today's rant is going to be on neighborhoods. And this will spider into a lot of different things, but why not get it started with today's music that I'm listening to? I want to say it was a 2015 album, Scream, solo album by Chris Cornell. No songs particular, just the whole goddamn album. Just started it, so we got the whole album to go on this walk while we're complaining. A little side note too, I was thinking on the way here, when I was figuring out what it was I was gonna bitch about today, one of my favorite all-time comics, George Carlin, had a special based on bitching and complaining. Not that he didn't do that in every special, because he was a master, absolute fucking savage at his craft. But it was called Complaints and Grievances. Man, if that man was alive today, he'd have a whole lot of I told you so's. And the funny thing is a lot of people like to, discount things that comics say in their specials. Say, it's just comedy. It's just bullshit. But the good ones, the Kinnisons, the Carlins, the Pryors, the real savages, the Mitch Hedbergs, they're observational. Especially Carlin. Carlin's goal was to observe what the fuck was going on and tear a hole in it and let you try and realize what the fuck's going on. And people always talk shit about, they're just comics, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I'll tell you what, when your job is to observe and report, basically, you get pretty fucking good at it. I'll say, when I was in the military, when I first got in, I'm not going to say what platoon or where, but there was a exercise we did. Hold on a sec, I got to put on these gloves, because we're already getting to that cold part, and we're only 4 minutes in. Hold on. Okay, glove on. So, as I put my other glove on, hold on. Okay, gloves on, both gloves. So the exercise went like this. Hello. Hello. So, you would go in a room. Some more people fishing on the pier. And, hold on, there's something in my fucking glove. Hold on a sec. That's what happens when you don't have to wear your gloves for a long time. I'm not a big glove guy anyways. But, they set up a room a certain way. You go in the room, you got 10-15 seconds. You make a mental note of the room. Everything there, it's in the room where it's at, colors, shapes, sizes, everything. You leave. Maybe an hour or so. Sometimes it's right away, but up to an hour or so later. Give you time to forget what it is you saw. You go back in that room. Now you got to find what's different in the room. Sometimes it's just a matter of them, if there's a bookshelf, switching out two books with each other. Sometimes it's, if there's a cup on the desk, sliding the cup over a couple inches. But you got to remember what's in the room and where it's at, how it's set. There's reasons for it, but when your job is to observe and report, you have to know. You can't think, you have to know things. And you have to be able to spot things like that. Because if something's off or something's different, that could be a sign of something or it could mean something. So my point in saying that is when it's somebody's job to look at things from a different perspective, like a Carlin, you get to notice things. Especially someone who has no skin in the game and they really don't give a fuck. So getting all the way back to my original point, today's bitch is about neighborhoods. I'm going to preface this, fucking old and tired, by saying I grew up in a trailer park, and it wasn't a small one. It was a pretty big fucking neighborhood. I'd say it wasn't like you'd think, where there's a couple blocks of trailers, small ass neighborhood stuck in the back corner somewhere. This was an actual full neighborhood of subdivision, basically, of trailer park. And they weren't bad trailers. Put a lot of money into the neighborhood. Had a security guard shack, the whole 9 yards. But back in the day, I knew everybody in the neighborhood. My parents knew everybody in the neighborhood. I literally, if I thought about it now, it might take me a while, but I could tell you everyone who lived on my block. Everyone who lived on the block, not everybody, but most people who lived on the block on each side of me and at each end of me. You knew your neighborhood. You knew the people in your neighborhood. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody knew that if something happened, more than likely who the fuck did it. So I think that's good. Everybody's always involved. Accountability. We had a little mom and pop, like, convenience store called The Cupboard. We had a little mom and pop food place, which I'll tell you right now, they had some damn good food there. The only thing that they fucked up was they started trying to make their own pizza, and that tasted like dog shit, especially where we lived. There was a place called Fasano's. You ain't beating Fasano's pizza. I still to this day have a hard time finding a place years later. Anyways, I can't remember what that place is called. It's since closed, but everybody knew everybody. The owner of The Cupboard knew you, because he'd stop there to get, candy and drinks. Knew your parents. Knew your parents and you to the point where if your parents sent you to The Cupboard with some money and a note that said, "Please sell my son 2 packs of smokes and a bottle of Jim Beam. They didn't even think twice. They just sold it to you and said, hurry up and get this home to your parents. It wasn't even a fucking question, not an issue, nothing. Now, like, you see all these problems in neighborhoods. I don't want to bring up... I'll do that later because I'll circle back. But now you got these neighborhoods where nobody knows anybody. I just lived in a neighborhood, I want to say, right before my son was born to right before he turned 6. So almost 6 years, 5-6 years, like somewhere in between there. I made it a point to get to know people that lived around my house. Didn't know them that well, not great, but I knew them, knew who they were. They knew who I was. We all talked and conversed with each other. Built a little bit of trust with each other. That way we knew that, you know, if anything happened in the neighborhood, it sure as fuck wasn't one of us. We're old, mature. Well, for the most part, mature. I'll never call myself mature. I know my wife would argue with that anyways. But it's good to know who's in the fucking neighborhood. That's my point. And it's good to hold accountability in the neighborhood. That way, I mean, I just think, so like, that issue swings into the issue of, I spent a lot of time at my grandpa's house growing up. I had shitbag parents, so, I mean, I lived with them for all through high school, but for the most part, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, and they lived in Burbank. Again, neighborhood, knew its neighbors, knew everyone on the block. To the point where this is before large corporations like Home Depot and Menards and Lowe's took over. There was a neighborhood hardware store. He knew my grandpa. Every time he walked in, hey, what's up, Al? How you doing? How's the wife? How's the family? It wasn't just on a first name basis. It was interpersonal. You talked to these people. They knew who you were. They knew about your family. There was an actual barber. I know this seems kind of old school. I'm not sure if he's still in business over there. We're going to go further than yesterday. We're on the big bridge. Maybe we'll make it to out of breath because it's chilly out, but we'll see if we can make it to where the beaver started eating the tree. But yeah, there was a barber. He'd go get his hair cut at a barber. Once a week, he walked in, knew his name, knew the family. My point being was, people had businesses, personal businesses. You spent money in the community. Now I get it. 1000%. Let's take Lowe's for an example, because that's the main one I go to, Lowe's. It's easy to go in there because the tool selection and basically anything you want. Basically, I don't want to say anything, but basically anything you want, they got. I never noticed this here before. My ADD is always striking. It's like sort of a woods. I don't know if that's marshy down there, but interesting. Obviously we got our water here, but this is always overgrown and you could never see in there. But interesting that they got a real big pocket down there where you have room to get through there. Interesting. That's why I like walking in the spring and the fall, because A, you don't deal with the bugs, and B, weather's better for walking, and C, you can see things you didn't normally see in the summer because of the overgrowns. But back to as I was saying, you could buy everything you need there. In the old days, I feel like you didn't need as much. I feel like another George Carlin bit saying that the whole point of your life is to buy stuff, to gather stuff. And when you get too much stuff, you buy a bigger house so you have more room for your stuff. I want to say, back then, life was more simple. You kind of, there's people who always went to excess, but like, someone's having a fire this morning. Love the smell of burning wood. But yeah, you didn't like have more than you needed for the most part. I would say because my generation's grandparents grew up in the Depression, so they knew the value. And I don't want to say this bullshit we're going through. We're not going through a depression. This ain't shit compared to what our grandparents went through. You want to look up what they went through? Fucking look it up. And quit bitching about the fact that you can't afford $700 worth of fucking groceries. Go on a fucking diet. Anyways, they went through a real depression where they sometimes didn't even know if they were going to eat that night. For real. Literally for real. And trying to see if I can find my little beaver buddy. So they didn't spend outside their means. I kind of got that because I grew up poor. When I started ironworking, I started making goofy money. For me anyways. I didn't grow up with much, so I started spending like a fucking asshole. I went into stupid debt. And I learned that good work isn't going to be good work forever. That you have to prepare for there being no work. Or hitting stretches where you're not going to be working. It may not be for maybe a week or two, sometimes a month, but it could happen. That being said, I learned my own lesson in my life, and they learned theirs to not live outside their means. But now, you got these big stores. I mean, it pretty much, for the most part, has put every little store that sells stuff out of business. I'm surprised Ace Hardware is still in business. I would guess, I could be wrong, because they sold everything at those stores, but I would guess it was a partial reason why Sears went out of business. They sold everything, their appliances, clothes, everything. But I'm assuming that a decent amount of their revenue came from tools. There's a little duckies I'd show you, but too much vegetation in the way. But that point being, like, people like to not understand that whole buy local thing. If somebody's, especially if they're a veteran-owned company, I'm shopping there first. I'm making there a priority. But if it's an American company or it's a local company, I'll give them the shot in the business over somebody who's a chain. Yes, I'm still going to shop at Lowe's. Yes, I'm still going to shop at big grocery stores because they don't have the smaller stores anymore, like the little markets. And I wouldn't want to shop at those anyways because they don't have everything that my fat ass eats. Ooh, this tree looks like it's hanging on for dear life. Barely hanging on. That thing's about to come fucking crashing down. I don't know if fucking weather got that motherfucker, or combination of beavers and weather or lightning. That's not a thin fucking tree. But anyways, as I was saying, there's no pride in the neighborhood anymore. Like, outside of where I grew up in Justice, Burbank was the same. Like I said, you had the little tool stores, the hardware store, I mean. You had the barbershops, every little thing. You actually had, I'm going to give another shout out to a restaurant a friend of mine his family owned, called Les Brothers. It was a restaurant my grandparents frequented. Family owned restaurants, 100% of the time, when we went out to eat with my grandparents, you're going to a family owned restaurant. It was just plain and simple. I try and do the same thing now. Don't get me wrong. I love bone of beef, and I do like a good steakhouse here and there. But if there's something that's not a chain, I'd rather go to the not chain. Something that a person owns. A person puts more care, love, and they want their product to be good. They want to make it. They may be rich. Who gives a fuck? They're only rich because they put out a good product. And I'll support that guy over a chain. Always. I don't understand what the obsession is. It may be out of laziness. It may be out of the fact that convenience, that you could go to a Chili's or TGI Fridays or I can't remember the name of that one restaurant. It's kind of like a bar restaurant where it's like got a lot of wine and shit. But I mean, you got Five Guys, McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell, Wendy's. I will stop at Wendy's here and there and get a spicy chicken sandwich, but I try and go to places that are authentic. Sometimes they eventually become chains. Case in point, we were younger. Any of my old school friends can attest to this. There was a neighboring town called Summit. They had, I don't know if it's the very first, but I'll be damned if it wasn't one of them. One of the first famous burritos. This place was about as good kept as Cabrini Green was. It was disgusting. It was dirty. It was filthy. And you ain't never had better food in your life. Ever. Between El Famous Burrito and El Faro, which was pretty much right across the street, you got yourself some fucking food. And when you're blistered, there wasn't much better, man. And from my understanding, one day the health inspectors came in and said, "What in the fuck?" They went closed for renovations. When they reopened, they had tile floors instead of concrete, wallpaper. The place looked clean, smelled clean, and their food was never the same. On top of that, they started franchising. You can't take something like that and franchise it, because you don't have the same people cooking, you don't have the same people serving, you don't have the same atmosphere. I honestly believe a lot of that stuff plays a very big role in quality of product. Any other All Famous I've ever went to is dog shit. It's another case in point. Now, I wasn't there, obviously. This restaurant opened well before I was born, but I remember being younger when Portillo's was actually Portillo's. Now, in our neighborhood, to this day, I haven't been to the new one since they reopened, but I'll say there's no better Italian beef than the original Duke's. Al's beef was good too, the original Al's beef. But Duke's, right off Harlem, I want to say like 81st in Harlem, there was nothing better. Their fries, their beefs, their chili dogs, you ain't beating that. How's it going? But back to Portillo's, there wasn't many of them. And I remember, man, there's a lot of bikers coming. The only one I could remember, I don't know if it was Summit, but I want to say Harlem, pretty close to 55-ish. They made their food better. They used red sauce still. The quality was much better. They franchised. I didn't even see that guy. And it hasn't... I'll eat Portillo's if I'm real hungry and there's not a bone of beef around, but not the same. Even bone of beef. Like I said, I'd rather go get an Al's beef. But there's none of those unless you go into the city. But again, Duke's was a local place. There was only one. It was like an old drive-in style where they had tables outside. Where they would come out. I don't remember them ever doing this, but I'm sure at one point when it was first open, maybe 70s, 80s, they would come out and take your orders. Sort of like how Sonic brings out your food. I'm guessing the way the place was set up like a drive-in, they did that as well at some point. But man, they had some bang-ass food. But that's port and local. There was another place by my high school, I want to say 79th and Central. Can't remember the name of it. Here comes another guy on a bike behind me. I'll probably not hear him. But they had banging ass chili cheese dogs, fries. They had good food. Again, mom and pop burger and dog shop, support local. It was in Burbank. It just frustrates me to no end because I feel like neighborhoods go to complete shit when people don't take the time to know each other, get to know each other, get to know the neighborhood, put money back into the neighborhood. The neighborhood I live in, it's kind of small. I like that. But like the town itself is growing more than I would like it to. It is what it is. People are trying to move as far away from the city as possible. And I understand that. It makes sense. But, I mean, they have a lot of local businesses. And whether they're good or not, you try and support them. Oh, are we already here? Oh, finally fell. If you remember my old videos, the beavers were just trying to get through it. They finally got it. whatever this one was. They gnawed the living fuck out of that one. Got that one. Got that one. I think that one would probably be one of these on the ground here. Let's see. Obviously, this is a high beaver area. If we can see anything in or near the water. I don't see anything. It might be too cold for the beavers to come out today. Unless they're on land. I wouldn't be surprised if they were on that side. You got plenty of trees and actual land. Unless they were actually trying to build a dam somewhere in here, which I don't understand why they would. They could just go on the fucking land. Unless their primary food is fish and they're trying to catch fish in the dam. Again, I don't know much about beavers, so I'm just guessing. Got that one there. Oh, they got another one they're gnawing at. I didn't even see this one over here. These motherfuckers are savages. That other one, they don't fucking play, man. This ain't a short tree by any means. I'd say maybe 30 something feet. Let's see, 10, 20, maybe 35, 40 feet. Give or take. I'll go a little bit longer and we'll turn around. It's already been a half hour. But man, they're really fucking working hard this year. Another one. I didn't even see this one. And this one's even thicker. These beavers don't give a Frenchman's fuck. I wish we could see some of them. It'd be cool as fuck to see one of them fucking gnawing. That's for goddamn sure. Are those mushrooms on another tree that a beaver ate and cut down? There's it laying on the ground. You could tell that it's been chewed at, but you got some mushrooms growing there. Wouldn't it be nice if they were the good kind? But back to what I was saying. We'll sum it up. Hold on. Let's see what we got here. Another good thing about this time of year, you have actual room to get in places that you normally wouldn't have got in before. I thought I saw some fish. A, I might have scared them. B, there might not have been fish anyway. But yeah, I wish we could go back to the times where everything wasn't a chain. Everything wasn't big business. Don't get me wrong, big business is okay sometimes, I guess. Because you get a lot of big business, you get a lot of competition. Competition drives down prices. But I feel like prices were never that high to begin with when you had mom and pop shops. Not only that, but like, people don't seem to remember back in the day. Businesses didn't want to deal with the whole fucking getting out the check reader and scanner. Back in the day, you had to get this carbon paper thing out to read credit cards, and it was just a pain in the ass to buy something with a credit card or a check, because they didn't have a system for it yet. So a lot of places would throw you a bone if you use cash. And it was nice because you could sort of barter with actual stores and be like, hey, that refrigerator's $2,000. Okay. What if I paid cash? I'll give it to you for $1,500. Because A, they don't want to deal with the bullshit. B, they don't want to deal with the service charge from the banks or the credit card companies. C, they don't like it was a big headache, and it has chains and big businesses won't do that. If you deal with mom and pop shops, which there's not many, sometimes you could still get away with it. But a lot of places, fucking crazy enough, don't even accept cash no more, which is fucking insane. I don't know if it's even legal to not accept payment for what you want to buy, but just a little bit of cool information from back in the day, that sometimes cash is king, and you could get stuff cheaper if you just pay in cash. Even think about it like this. I don't know. I would assume it only works with car companies if you're going to buy a car, that the car company itself, the dealership, finances. I'm sure if they're outsourcing their financing, it won't work. But if they are, and you do your homework, and the car company that you're buying your car from finances, I'm sure if you say, hey, how about if I pay for this car in cash, all of it right now, you're gonna get a better deal. So they don't want to have to deal with all the bullshit. But yeah, neighborhoods, man. Like, all neighborhoods that people don't know each other, people don't talk, people don't get along, people don't make it a point to build relationships, go to shit. From my understanding, I'm not going to talk for anybody in these neighborhoods, but I'm going to use, and this may be controversial to some people, but I can give a fuck because it's the truth, and if you don't like it, don't give a fuck. Use the Chicago outfit as an example. There are certain neighborhoods, I'm not going to say which ones that these people lived in. Those neighborhoods were never a fucking problem to be in, to drive in, to go through. And no crime, nothing. Everybody knew everybody. And your argument could be, yeah, because if anything happened, they would get killed. Not necessarily. A lot of people like to misconstrue the outfit, how they ran, and the way things were handled. If you look at 90% of the hits, I'm not going to say there weren't others, but 90% of the hits that were ever done from the outfit were people who deserved it. People who were degenerates, people who were other outfit guys or associates, or people who were just fucking bad people, just really bad fucking people. What people don't realize is, especially for Chicago, I'm not going to speak for New York or Detroit or Kansas City or Boston, but Chicago is known for keeping a low profile, other than that scumbag Sam Giancana. Tony Accardo made it well known, you keep a low fucking profile. Shut the fuck up, don't bring attention to us, and we're gonna be alright. We're gonna make money, and we're gonna earn. Don't give them a reason to fuck with you, don't give them a reason to look into you, and don't give them a reason to come after you. You start fucking offing people, you're giving them a reason. So it wasn't often. Yes, there were hits. But it wasn't just on all these regular civilians for no reason. It wasn't like people thought it was, more so back in the Wild West days when Al Capone was around and people just didn't give a fuck. Tony Accardo really revolutionized how the Chicago outfit ran and worked. So that argument's shit. Let's see. Mile 42. Don't shoot till you see the whites of their eyes. That was actually something that was said, I want to say, during the Civil War. Revolutionary War or Civil War? Because you're more accurate when you could see the whites of their eyes. Wildlife was plentiful along this I&M Canal. Boat travelers sometimes shot deer and grouse. I don't know what grouse is. Right from the deck of the ship. Interesting. Native Americans showed Native Americans showed French explorers a shortcut through. Hello?
Hello.
Prairies between the Illinois River and Lake Michigan, which later was used for the I&M Canal. I love history. I love learning. We're going to turn around at mile marker 42, hopefully as this old fat motherfucker starts getting in better shape. We'll push further and further past all these different mile markers. Originally we were going to turn around at the Beavers, but we made it further today. But yeah, those outfit neighborhoods, I'll say one, the Grand Avenue neighborhood with Joey Lombardo. I remember going there. I remember having a friend who lived there. Anytime I visited him, I never felt like nervous. Even at night in the city, sometimes you get that feeling like, ooh. Never felt that. And it wasn't till my friend later told me about Joey and who he actually was that it made sense, but I didn't know anything at first, and I never had that feeling. And it's not just there, Joey Iupa, if I want to say correctly, he was in the Cicero crew to start, but his house, he ended up buying a nice little estate in Oak Brook. Not that Oak Brook was ever a bad neighborhood or potentially ever could be a bad neighborhood, but I mean, Franklin Park, Arlington Heights, just Rosemont. You got a bunch of these places. How's it going? That weren't bad neighborhoods. Could never be bad neighborhoods. And if it takes there being a dude in the neighborhood that people are like, well, I ain't gonna fuck up because I don't want to deal with this guy. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with the guy who's in charge of the neighborhood? I saw something on TV that actually made my heart happy. During the Black Lives Matter riots, they tried coming through Chicago and the Inglewood neighborhood. And I saw this on the news, so I know this happened. Personally, I saw. And the old timers of the neighborhood. Now, if you know Chicago, you know Inglewood's not the greatest of neighborhoods. But you saw the old timers come out and say, get the fuck out of our neighborhood. And when they interviewed him on the news, some of the left-wing news was pretty shocked because it's a black neighborhood kicking out a movement called Black Lives Matter. And there was two old-timers in the neighborhood who I would assume had some rank in the neighborhood and people listened to. that were like those shot callers. Maybe they were just old timers that people, that they appreciated and they kind of didn't fuck with. Or maybe they were somebody. But nonetheless, when the lady interviewing him was like, what the fuck? He goes, listen, we have enough problems in our neighborhood to begin with. We're trying to build a relationship with the police to make our neighborhood better. We're not going to allow them to come in and fuck things up. And I was like, right the fuck on, man. Right the fuck on. Finally, somebody stood up for their fucking neighborhood. Finally, somebody stood up for something that was right. And that was that. That made my fucking heart happy, man. That things are going back to the way they were, or just because the dude was so old, that's just the cloth he's cut from. I feel like there'd be certain people that I know that would do that for their neighborhood. That would be like, who would stand up and be like, we're not fucking up our neighborhood. We're not going through fucking up our businesses, our people's houses. Get the fuck out. You don't like it, we'll force you to leave. And again, that goes back to neighborhood accountability. Like I said, like, if something happened in my old neighborhood, parents got together, adults got together, they figured it out, and it was taken care of. Like, that's the whole point of everything. The whole rant today was people need to take a full accountability of everything. Start building neighborhoods back up. Start having pride. Pride in yourself, pride in your neighborhood, pride in the town that you live in, pride in your work. Pride. Pride's not a bad thing. It's not. If anyone ever tells you that it is fucking just a shitbag of a human. Because I guarantee at some point in their life they were proud of something. They got a grade on their test they didn't think they were going to get in school. They accomplished something at work. They accomplished something on a sports team. They accomplished something and they felt proud. Take pride in everything. Every fucking thing. Especially neighborhoods, man. Especially neighborhoods. Especially towns. Support people. You got people who come door to door. Hey, my kid's in baseball. He made the all-star team this year. Congratulations, man. Good fucking job. You put the work in, you got it. Hey, we're selling candy bars. We're trying to get in the Little League World Series tournament. Would you like to buy some? Abso-fucking-lutely. Throw me down for a fin. Like, support people, support your neighborhood, support your town. I'm telling you, things will clean up quick. People will give a fuck. You'll know who the fuck's in your neighborhood, that's for sure. Because there's always people who, whenever people move in the neighborhood, they're like those old ladies who sit on the porch and stare at people all day. You always got those in your neighborhood, and God bless those people, because they know everything that's going on. And if something's in the neighborhood that shouldn't be, they know. But you build that community, you don't have to worry about shit. You rally around each other, you take care of each other. I promise you, life's much better, like I said. Like when my grandpa would go get his hair cut, it wasn't to the extreme of Gran Turismo, where they would walk in and just get super racist with each other. which to me it's cool anyways, because me and my friends do that anyways. But it was like that. Hey, asshole, how's your day? Not much, Jagoff. How's yours? How's the fucking family? Doing great. How's yours? Probably better that you're not at the house and you're working. Like, conversations of ball busting. Men need to go back to being men. Busting balls. Nobody's offended. Like, there's not much you could say that would offend me. From the time I was teeny tiny, I grew up with older kids. And to this day, all we did was bust balls. I joined my trade, the Ironworkers Union, at 19, and continued to bust balls. I joined the military, the infantry, and we continued to bust balls. I went back to ironwork, and we continued to bust balls, because that's what men do. Nobody's ever offended. Ever. We need to get back to what made us fucking normal. To me, that's normal. Coming home from work and not knowing who your next door neighbor is, maybe waving at him once every couple months, is not normal. If I see my neighbor outside, I'll say hi. Ask him how things are. Ask how the family's doing. That's how it should be. This rant has gone on pretty goddamn long. Before I get off, I gotta say, again, they don't pay me, but Black Rifle Coffee, veteran-owned company, absolutely fucking great products, savage as fuck. The guys who run it are some bad motherfuckers. Their products are great, their clothing line's great. Go out and buy a whole bunch of their coffee and drink it, and then tell other people to buy it. I already went over my music selection for the day, but it's been one. This is the HBJ on a Sunday. Out.